Thank you again for joining us for Student Leadership, a win-win solution for your students, school, and beyond. Or I'm not sure if I can advance this. Oh, there it is. Okay, all right, so let's start with you. We have some questions for you. If you have, you are offering any type of leadership programs at your school, please, share them in the chat. And also, let's think about, what you are hoping to gain from today's session. If you could kind of share that or just think about it for a minute, that'll be great. If you feel like sharing them in the chat, please do so. People are still joining us. Thank you for joining. If you already have some leadership, programs in place, please share them in the chat. We're going to get the panel questions started. I'm not sure if I'm seeing the chat, but all right.
So we do have a lot of several responses coming in.
Oh, I see. I see now. Perfect. Thank you for introducing yourselves. And if you have any, you can, add more as we go. Please share any, programs that you have already and share what you are hoping to gain from today's webinar. All right, let's move on. Let me see. Okay, all right. So now first, the evidence based on student leadership. Let's see what the research says. All right. So why should we consider student leadership opportunities? Well, research shows that students' voice can lead to student agency and empowerment. And one thing to note, though, is that without the school's follow through or clear communication, it can have the opposite effect, and it can be a discouraging and disappointing experience for students. So it's really important that we make sure that students feel their voices are heard. And why is student agency important? Because it can lead to higher persistence and academic achievement for students. And I believe, that's what we're ultimately here for as adult educators, right? And in addition, especially for adult immigrant students who are learning the system, new systems and the new language, engaging in school and community activities can support rebuilding their self-confidence. As an immigrant myself, I understand that the experience of the integration process can be quite destabilizing and can affect someone's, self-esteem. And participation in school activities can foster a sense of belonging and offer a comfortable environment to regain self-confidence. By asking students to engage in leadership activities, we are positioning them as essential members with expertise to share and powerful advocates for other students like them. So when students see that, that's a great confidence booster. All right, next. Okay, so again, we are positioning students as essential members of the community and powerful advocates. When we do that, the school and the entire community can certainly benefit from, tapping into their expertise. Experienced students can offer support to new students. Students can also share their perspectives on how the school can improve its services, student recruitment methods, and other things that's happening. And many immigrant students also have skills and experiences that they'd like to showcase and utilize. So those are something to think about. And enough about the backgrounds now. Now, let me introduce you to our wonderful panel. Go to the next slide. Marina Kravtsova and Tatiana Roganova is here to share their expertise with us. Marina, would you like to introduce yourself? And thank you.
Yes, of course. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your interest in this topic. And I was browsing some interesting responses in chat already. I was like, wow, it's going to be interesting conversation. So my name is Marina Kravtsova, and I'm an English learner specialist and student ambassador coordinator at San Mateo Adult and Career Education here at Peninsula and Bay Area. I am a former student of San Mateo Adult School. I'm an former English learner. My family moved to California almost 12 years ago, and right away I started English program in San Mateo Adult School. I started from beginning, low beginning level, and then I became student volunteer. I became involved in the activities in school, and I ran for student council. I was within first student ambassadors there, and almost 7 years ago, the position was opened here, and I got a job in San Mateo Adult School. And since that, I'm working here and also managing student volunteers, student ambassadors. I've been a student council advisor as well. This is my story.
All right, and please welcome Tatiana.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences with the student advisory during this hour. My name is Tatiana Roganova, and I'm a director of Sequoia Adult School. All my life is adult education. I started many years ago in Russia when I was teaching at the university level. And then when I came to the United States, I got a job in Hayward Adult School, where I spent 20 years wearing different hats as an ESL teacher, as coordinator, apprenticeship liaison, a member of the leadership team. And it was a wonderful experience. And then I moved on to administrative position, first at the East Side in San Jose. Then I was a director at Salinas Adult School for 5 years. And now this is my first year at Sequoia Adult School. And I enjoyed every minute of it. I really like to work with adult learners. They are so motivated, and it's a pleasure to work with them.
All right, thank you, Marina and Tatiana. Let's get started. So my first question to you is, well, tell us a little bit about your personal and professional backgrounds. I think you already did a little bit of that, but how your experiences relate to student leadership programs.
So it's question to us, yes? Yes, so as I mentioned, I was a student leader myself, and when I was an adult student here at school, and it helped me a lot. So why I decided to support this program when I started working at San Mateo Adult and Career Education. Maybe Tatiana can add something else.
Thank you. Well, I can relate to what Marina just mentioned, because I could relate to all the students because I was an immigrant myself, although I was in a little different role at that point. But I could relate to all the experiences that the students were going through. And I really wanted to help them because I could see the world and the challenges that they were going through their perspective. It was a little closer to me. And so I always thought, how can we involve the students in school governance? Because we need to hear their voices and their feedback on our services. So that's why I organized student advisory at these two schools, I'll be sharing with you later in this presentation.
Great. Thank you, Marina and Tatiana. Whoops. The second question is, at San Mateo Adult and Career Education, you had a student council, Marina, and please tell us a little bit about the role and the function of the council.
Okay, thank you. So yes, we had a student council, which was founded like maybe more than 20 years ago. So when I become student, it's already existed there. And our student council, I believe, was designed in order to let immigrants practice democracy and advocate for their educational needs. Our school had a lot of different programs, high school diploma, GED, professional education, active adult program, but the biggest one is the English as second language program. We have a huge enrollment, and we have two big programs for ESL, morning and evening. So we always had two teams of student council, morning and evening team. And student council positions, any students could run for student council positions, which were student council president, student council vice president, and secretary. And again, it was two each time, one for morning, one for evening. The only recommendation we had for students to be low intermediate level and above, because being in the student council requires a lot of talking and comprehension. So each year, each school year, like as soon as our registration was over for new students, we started a student council election campaign. First, we recruited new candidates. Again, I don't know how they started from the beginning, but when I was a student, former student council officers participated in candidate recruitment campaign. They visited classes and talked about importance of student council and about what potential candidates should expect. And talked about their experience. After that, candidates submitted their participation form, and they started campaigns with support of their classmates and teachers. They practiced for their speeches, and they put some posters around the campus. And then we always had forums, student council forum, when candidates could make a speech in front of whole school and other students, persuading them to vote for them. And after these forums, we had an election, which they were held in computer labs. So classes visited computer labs and voted for desired candidates. After that, the elected candidates were announced by our director. He made an announcement and introduced them to the whole school, and two teams of president, vice president, and secretary started working together as a collaboration. So the big thing about our student council is that our student council always had a budget. This budget came from providing students with plastic ID cards, and students paid $10 for these cards, and all money goes to the student council budget. And only with approval of student council, school could spend this money on students' needs or school needs, but it should have been approved by student council. It happened during the monthly meetings. So student council held monthly meetings with classroom representatives. We always asked each teacher, each classroom, to send minimum 1 or 2 representatives to each meeting, so they could represent their school, and after listening and participating, they could vote for spending some money And also they went back to their classes and reported on what was going on, what was planned and what to expect, etc. And also they could bring some concerns and issues from their classmates and share with student council officers. One important thing I forgot to mention, so our student council always required a student council advisor. So one from our staff, a member, and I was a student council advisor for a while when I started working. But student council advisor just supported student council, but everything else was kind of ran by students and student council officers. So, and during the meetings, all students from all programs were welcomed, and we had quite good participation from GED students as well. They were very busy to participate as student council officers, but they came to all student council meetings and participated as classroom representatives. So both teams, as I mentioned, worked together to organize school events. They went to meet with local and state leaders and legislators. For example, during Adult Education Week, our student council officers traveled to Sacramento with us, with the staff, school staff, and met with state legislators talking about the importance of adult education. They had presented at several conferences on local and even countrywide levels. You can see some pictures there. They organized the campaigns to support adult education. They organized school events, as you can see, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving, Halloween. Student council wanted to spend money for prizes for these events and for food or for pumpkin. And it was very important and big participation. I think, and the end of each student council term, the student council officers together with the classroom representatives decided about legacy gift, and they also left the legacy gift to school after serving for 1 year and helped with recruiting of new student council potential members. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Marina. It's amazing to have both, morning and evening councils. Thank you for sharing. And Tatiana, this question is for you. At Salinas School, where you worked before, you had a student advisory group. That's a little bit different than the council, how the student council worked. Tell us a little bit about the role and the function of the group.
Thank you. Yeah, I admire what Marina and her group did at San Mateo School, but please keep in mind that San Mateo School is much bigger and they have more resources and more students to organize a student council. In Salinas, our student body was much smaller and kind of scattered around Salinas. So we could not do such an elaborate organization as student council with elections and with different activities. So I was thinking, what can we do to involve students in school governance? What can we do to get feedback on our services? So we organized student advisory. Approximately 20 students participated in student advisory with 2 representatives from each class. The teachers and program coordinators gave presentations in each classroom and encouraged participation. And I was amazed that we had students come from off-site classes, and they really got involved in activities we were doing during the student council, and we got a lot of valuable feedback from students. So here you can see we wanted to turn our Salinas Adult School into a magnet for students. That was our goal at that point, because it's an open enrollment and we were kind of in the process of recruitment all year round. So we needed advice from our students, how to find the students for our school, how to convince them to come to school. And so that was the topic of discussion at one of the student advisories. And mind you, we had student advisory in the morning and at night for the evening students. And we had it twice a year, in the fall semester and in the spring semester for both groups. So in this picture, I'm holding a backpack. We didn't have enough backpacks for everybody who participated in the advisory, but we wanted to give them something to remember their participation and also appreciate their input. So we did a raffle, and half of the students got the backpacks, and they really were very, very happy. So this student advisory group was asked to share their thoughts of increasing enrollment. So you can see in the picture that the students are brainstorming this idea, and they're writing some ideas and statements on the board. So they advised us on expanding marketing methods to reach the groups of focus in the community. One of those recommendations we found very, very valuable. For example, they suggested public announcements on Spanish-speaking radio stations at a particular hour during lunchtime, when field workers typically rest and listen to the radio. And we really followed that advice, and we created small PR announcements, and we broadcast to on the Spanish-speaking radio stations. And we're very grateful for the input on the part of the students. At a different advisory, I think it was in spring, we asked students to create a wish list of services and supports they would like to see in the future. And you can see some notes here that we saved from the advisory, and we were able to fulfill some of them, and some of them, of course, were not attainable at that point, but hopefully at some point they will be implemented. So on the advice of the students, marketing materials and orientation slides were translated into more languages. And also more orientations were added in the morning and at night to accommodate varying schedules. So we basically had orientation every week to make sure that we accommodate all students and those who want to get involved those who want to get enrolled in our school will be enrolled and get an orientation. So after community advisory, the responsibility of participants was to go back to their classes and reported on the results of the student advisory meeting. The students also shared with their teachers that they felt empowered because their voices were heard. A few participants of the student advisory signed up to help with marketing efforts. They helped us with the Twitter accounts, with Facebook, and in other ways of marketing, and took the flyers to the places of worship, to their friends, and really try to contribute to enrollment in our school, because they understood it's very important, and they wanted to make sure that a lot of people know about our services, and they are in the same predicament as our students are, and they wanted to help them out.
Thank you, Tatiana. It sounds like at Sequoia, Salinas, students had a lot of great ideas to share with the school, and school really benefited from their voices. So our next question is, at Sequoia Adult School, where you are currently, Tatiana, you launched a new student leadership program where it didn't quite exist. Tell us about the process of implementing a new program.
Well, it was a similar community advisory. I thought we needed, it's a smaller school. And again, by the way, I met with Marina. Marina and her partner came to our school from San Mateo because we are part of the same consortium, and told us about their student council. And I understood that we really cannot develop a student council at that huge scale that they have at our much smaller school. We just don't have those resources, human resources and financial resources to support it. But I thought that if we can start student advisory and do it regularly, it will still benefit the schools, and we eventually will involve students in the school life, in school governance, and change the culture of the school. The staff resisted a little bit when they heard about that we're going to do this student advisory. They said, what is it? We've never done that, and why do we need that? And they had a lot of questions, and were a little bit resistant to that. So I had to convince them that it is very important for us to do that. And I went to each classroom and advocated for the student advisory. And you can't imagine the response when I asked who wanted to participate in the student advisory. They all raised their hands, and we just couldn't accommodate all the students who wanted to be part of that. So we had to do a lottery and choose the students by the lottery system who could participate. So in the picture, you can see students are seated at the tables. The tables has numbers on it because we had like a little competition between the tables, and we mixed and matched students from different programs and also ESL different levels. And at the moment, they are looking at the quiz that I developed for them. I was thinking, what can I quiz them on so our literacy students will not be lost in that text and translation? So the quiz was about different numbers, like how well do you know our school? How many classrooms, how many teachers, how many programs do we offer? And they were very good in answering. And they received prizes for the correct answers. So they got excited, they introduced themselves. So they built a little community at each table, the students from different programs. So that was already progress. They were talking to each other and connecting to each other. And then you can see the white tear-off sheets on the board. The second activity was to create lists, and they had little stickies, different colors, two colors. One color indicated things they liked about school, and a different color stickies indicated what needs improvement. And so the students were working on those, and they posted those stickers on the tear-off sheets, and that's how we learned what what their concerns are and what can we do to improve our services. And that was really very helpful. So as I said, the participants provided feedback on our services and highlighted the areas for improvement. Their recommendations are of great importance to us. Some of them were realistic. Some of them we're still working on, like a lack of adequate parking at our school, but the board member was present. I invited the board member to the to the student advisory. So she took a note of it, that, you know, the school district needs to help us to support our adult learners and maybe to find a way to provide more parking for our students. I also thought at the end of the meeting, I wanted to involve students in a project. At first, we thought we're going to do a food drive. When we connected with the local organization, I think it's called Harvest, they said they don't take any more food donations. They only take monetary donations, and we cannot, of course, wouldn't involve our students in that. Then it turned out that the Multicultural Institute, with whom we were partners for a few years, they were doing a toy drive. So we decided we'll try. Again, some teachers were concerned that our students come from limited economic backgrounds and pointed out to me that they probably are saving their money for and their toys for their children. And I said, I totally understand that. It is volunteer. And again, you know, we went to each classroom to advocate for the toy drive. The students who were participants in the student advisory volunteered to create a flyer, and then they went to different classrooms to advocate for the toy drive. And the result absolutely exceeded all our expectations. We had toys everywhere, in the office, on the couches, on the chairs, on the floor. The toys were just overflowing our school. It was amazing. And I just understood that those people want to help each other. They understand the predicament that these migrant workers are in. And they feel empowered in helping others. So it turned out to be a great triumph in support of migrant families, and I'm very proud of our students.
Thank you, Tatiana. It's great to, you know, feel the enthusiasm from your students. And back to San Mateo, you offer a student ambassador program as well, which is different than your council. Tell us about the program, Marina.
Yes, so student ambassador program, sorry, too fast, was started and established in January 2016 by my colleague. She was a English learner specialist at the time. Now she's a career navigator, but like right before she passed her job to me, she started this program. And the first idea for student ambassadors was just to let students who want to volunteer and help school to assist staff and new students during the ASL registrations. So it was announced among advanced level students, and they were invited to participate during an ASL registration. And actually, this is still what student ambassadors do by now, but this program expanded a lot. So during the ASL registration, student ambassadors welcome new students. They help them to fill out the registration forms. We have translated our registration forms in 11 different languages with student ambassadors' help. They help the new students to understand the programs and the schedule. They give them campus tour, showing them classrooms, restrooms, student room, front desk when they can buy books, etc. They also assist students and staff during the CASAS tasting or any other tasting. And again, I think it's really helpful for new students to see other immigrants who recently were in the same situation, to see them being able to do something additional to learning English. I think it's really inspiring example. And also, honestly, recently I had a lot of new student ambassadors who just last semester, they were new students, and next semester they're helping me during the ESL registration. And again, by years, student ambassadors have become a very important part of school life, especially in this year, because unfortunately we do not have a active student council. We had some problems to reestablish it after COVID. But student ambassadors, in some ways, they took over the leadership role and they helping us. Before, student council always and student ambassador program always collaborated together. They prepared several events and they supported each other. Many of our former student ambassadors ran for student council, and vice versa. Some retired student council officers, they became student ambassadors because they didn't want to leave our school and they wanted to still help. So right now, student ambassadors involved in many different tasks in our school. Of course, again, the primary help is during the ESL registration, but also they help to recruit new student ambassadors, because we do a student ambassador orientation every semester, looking for new people to participate. So our current student ambassador, actually this week, they have been visiting classes and trying to inspire new students to become student ambassadors next time. They also have been helping with CASAS tasting, which we're doing right now, tasting our current classes. They also helping with a lot of different events. So last month, student ambassadors helped to organize and help host a bake sale to collect money to support victims of Turkish and Syrian earthquakes, because we have a lot of students from Turkey. And you can see the picture in the evening, student ambassadors helping us to sell bakes and collect money. Student ambassadors also went out to outside events, represent our school, or if we have some visitors in our school, student ambassadors meet with them and greet them and talk to them. Our school is going through the WASC stage right now, and we had very active student leader focus group. And again, it contained former student council and current student ambassadors too. The question is why a student wants to volunteer. I can tell you right now, I recently recounted my active volunteers. Right now on my list, I have more than 50 students who I can reach out, and if I need help, they can come and sign up to help. And a few years ago, we had a short survey, and we asked around 33 current and former active students. We included student volunteers, student ambassadors, student council members, former and current, and we asked them, you can see the question, what are the benefits of being a volunteer? And honestly, when we just started advertising student ambassador program, our main point was, okay, guys, it's a good way for you to improve your English. And you can see, it's a second line, that improving English is not the main reason for students to, it's not the main reason for students to become student volunteers or student ambassadors. The main reason for them to feel more connected to these countries, to their new country, and feel more confident. And also you can see it helps them to improve their self-esteem. They found new friends. They understand more about job here, and it helps them with their job search. Speaking about job search, actually, our active students, no matter if they're student ambassadors or student council members, we also have classroom volunteers, so students who support and assist teachers and students in class during class time. Most of them are kind of current or former student ambassadors. So no matter what program they participate in, they always can request a certificate if they volunteered with us 12 or more hours. And also they can receive a letter of references. And after the school year is over, we have our annual Student Ambassador Appreciation event. We had this already maybe 4 or 5 years, when we recognize in front of the whole school the most active student volunteers, the most active students who dedicated most hours for our program, for our school. And they receive a certificate and some gift, and we offer them lunch or dinner. And again, we're talking about 2 programs of student ambassadors, because we have student ambassadors who are helping with the morning and student ambassadors who are helping with the evening. Of course, sometimes they miss the class when they volunteer. We're not requiring any special hours to volunteer. They sign up whenever they are ready to come, and we're expecting them to spend 3 hours minimum one day or maximum volunteering. But sometimes we need them only for half an hour. Sometimes we need them just to visit Zoom class. So there are a lot of opportunity for them to volunteer and participate, and they are very huge and important part of our school right now. I think
Thank you, Marina. I think there's a quick question in the chat. How much time is required of ambassadors?
We do not require any time. And again, if they can dedicate 1 hour per semester, it's enough for us. I think to receive official certificate, they need to volunteer 12 hours or more, but it could be combined from previous year, etc. I think this is what recognized on a state level. If you have 12 hours or more of volunteering, it's kind of something already.
All right, thank you, Marina. And then I think I saw this question earlier, but this is the question. What other volunteer or leadership opportunities do your students have at your school? I'm going to go to Tatiana first.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Marina for introducing us to that ambassador program. I really like it, and I hope she will help me to organize it at Sequoia. I really count on your help, Marina. I think it's a great program, and it is on my to-do list for next year for sure, because that would provide those volunteer leadership opportunities, the question we are talking about right now. At this point, we just have very few opportunities for students, but we start with small steps, and we involve them in some small projects. For example, we need to decorate our school for Black History Month, or for international recognition of women in the month of March. So they volunteer to help us out with that. Also, in terms of leadership opportunities, a number of our students from the student advisory participated in the community advisory, and they were communicating with the board members, with leaders of of the business leaders of San Mateo County and other principals and administrators, and they did wonderfully. So that really contributed to their leadership skills. So I'm looking forward to next year when we can provide more opportunities for our students to develop their leadership skills and volunteer. Right now, we also, of course, using students with more advanced ESL skills to help translate if we need some translation in a low-level classes. So that is also happening. So just starting with small steps, and then we'll really want to get that ambassador program going in our school.
Thank you, Tatiana. Marina?
Yes, so I'm glad to hear this, Tatiana. So go for it. It's worth it. So of course you will have all my support, because I think it's the most amazing thing happened to me as a student, that my school allowed me and let me to be part of school life, additional to my learning English. I think it's like, who am I right now? It's because I was able to volunteer and support my school and learn a lot. So again, talking about additional volunteering opportunities, I want to mention that not all students really want to be leader or feel comfortable to make speeches, talk to legislators or other administrators, but believe me, a lot of students really want to volunteer. So our school always were looking for some options to let students to fulfill their abilities and skills, and also feel needed and practice their interest and what they and help others. So before COVID-19, we had a lot of options for our students. We had several clubs which were run by students. We had parent club, we had chess club. We also had a lunch bunch when during the lunch time, students met together from different classes. They met together and talked about different topics, and teachers or other staff could join them while they were eating their lunches. They talk about many different things. And first it was like educational purpose. They talk about some language related situation, but then they started talking about environment. And I think from this lunch bunch, our current green team started. So now we had it before COVID, and now we have active green team for students who are interested in environment and saving our planet. And talking about global warming and about recycling, etc. So they meet, I think, every week, and they have some visitors from San Mateo County talking to them about important thing. Also, we have active community garden. We have a nice small garden, and my colleague is taking care of it and invited a lot of students to participate. So if students like planting and gardening, they are welcome to join. And as soon as harvesting period, they have small farmers market selling stuff from the garden to our students and teachers, and all profit goes back to the garden to buy seeds and fertilizers, etc., and tools. Yeah, I already mentioned annual volunteer appreciation event. And also I want to say our school tries to bring a lot of stuff from community and some classes from community to let our students to participate. Again, before COVID, we collaborated with the local businesses which gave our school leftover food from their lunches or dinners, and we serve our students with hot meals, and like once a week we organize the hot meal service for evening students, because they came directly after from work to classes, and we wanted kind of support their studying and support them. And this hot team meal service again was formed by students who just wanted to participate and they were interested in serving food. They just had to warm it up and serve students, and it was great success. And of course, we would like to bring it back, maybe step by step. Also, we had a third training at our school, and we had another right now, a session going on. A third is a community emergency response team, and I took this training, and during COVID-19, our students supported community as a third trained volunteers. They they delivered lunch to seniors or participate in the COVID vaccination clinics or COVID testing clinics. They helped community with this. So again, right now we only have active green team and community garden, but we're looking forward to give students more opportunities to volunteer.
Thank you, Marina. Okay, oops. So this is
Sorry.
our last question to you. Do you have any advice for the school leaders and teachers who are trying to implement a new student leadership program or augment what they already have? Any advice? Let's go to Tatiana.
Thank you. Of course, I encourage the school leaders and teachers to implement a new student leadership program. And I'm a novice myself here, but as I said, start with small steps. Try to build a new culture and a student community at your school. So, for example, in the morning and at night when I work, I am there at the entrance of the school greeting students and saying, how are you? And nice to see you. You're welcome. Welcome here. Welcome back. So establishing this bond with the students. So when also I like to go into the classes and to say hello, to bring some important information about our program, and also to connect with the students and see how they're doing. And I think they respond much better when we are asking them to engage in some activities or to support our program, to participate in the projects. They respond very well. So I would start with small steps like community student advisory, and then maybe evolve to a student ambassador program, and maybe then council. But you really need support of Marina and her team probably to get that started. But the results are wonderful. I can see it in my school that the atmosphere has changed, the culture has changed, the students are happy. We like to do projects together, and they connect with each other much better because of this participation in different projects and activities.
Thank you, Tatiana. What about you, Marina? Any advice?
Yeah, I would support Tatiana's word about the importance of atmosphere. It's going to be absolutely different feeling when students are involved in the life, school life, and supporting each other. Yes, I understand this is not easy just to start any programs. And when I become a student council member and then advisor, I already had just joined the program which was established. The Student Ambassador program, I was part of establishing this program, so I know how it's not easy, it's step by step, and it's really challenging. As I mentioned, we do not have active student council right now because we couldn't find any dedicated staff member who could spend a lot of time and energy to reestablish this and rule this. We hope to be able to resolve this soon. And at the same time, I know whenever we mention student council, everybody always has been amazed and say, wow, it's a great program. But again, not everybody wants to be a leader. So if you can let your students practice their volunteering skills and their interest in being active students with something small, maybe invite some active students from your class, from the classroom and advanced classroom to just maybe support you during some stuff, like during the testing or when you do some events. And then they become more interested and involved. And again, it requires a lot of energy in the beginning, but when you establish the program, it goes a little bit easier, but still requires a lot of attention. So the problem is, I see we kind of armed to prepare our students for colleges or for career, but unfortunately, we do not pay much attention to preparing them to be a community members. I think for immigrants, I'm speaking from immigrants' behalf, it's really important also to learn how to be a community member, how to understand what is going on in your community, how to support your community, and how to advocate for themselves. In this case, I think this ability to volunteer at school, to be active, to be involved in school life, it's a good and great step for all immigrants to learn how to become a community member. And also during the school will benefit from this tremendously. During the difficult time, our active students step up and they advocated for adult education when it was a crisis. I was a part of this advocating, and we went to everywhere and advocated for our adult education, importance of adult education. And I believe in some way we also saved our school. And during COVID, during pandemic, our student council and our student ambassadors, they played a great role helping us to keep community together, to keep community connected. Student council organized a lot of virtual events. They were visible, they visited online classes. We had a drive-through Halloween event, and student ambassadors also supported us during online testing, and they meet with students, explain them how to use Zoom, etc. So during crisis, these programs will support you. And again, I think it's really important for students because they feel their voices are heard and they see they can make some differences. It's really important, and it also helps to support their mental health, because when you're helping others, you help yourself as well. So even though it seems difficult, and it's really difficult, I will not lie to you, it's not easy, it requires energy, I think you should do it.
Right. Thank you, Tatiana and Marina. Now it's time for Q&A. I see a couple of questions from, let's see, Teresa. What are some other ways to get the ambassadors to connect one another, especially when they speak different languages and they have language barriers?
I can say, again, I understand. To start, it's quite difficult. I don't know your program. Like in our program, we have 7 different levels of English classes, and our students like continue. So for example, right now we going to start summer semester. So I reached out to some current students who are in upper levels, and I asked them if they're going to continue next semester. So they're going to be my primary volunteers at the beginning of next semester. But if you every time you start with new students and you start with absolutely, you don't have any returning students, any current students, I'm not sure what's the best way to establish this program. So probably you need to kind of like know them a little bit. I hope I kind of answer your question.
Thank you, Marina. And there are a couple other questions about, one is about, you mentioned local businesses, partnering with local businesses. I think it was maybe both of you. What are some of the examples?
Well, may I answer first and then Marina? I'm thinking about a library. We have a great communication with the local library. They come to make presentations and they issue library cards for our students. And they have a few programs at the library that can be accessible to our students if they need additional support. So I think the student ambassadors or volunteers can help us establish that bridge with the library and probably volunteer at the library because they have a program that supports, that provides technical support to adult learners. So we have quite a number of students in our CTE computer class that have advanced technical skills. So they might be able to build that bridge between our class and the library, and they can participate in that program and support adult learners at the library participating in that program.
And like from our part, like when I talked about, for example, meal service, I think this kind of like, this businesses kind of found us and they contacted us. It's not what we were looking around. They came to us, like they learn about us, they ask how they can help us. And from that we started. And I agree, library is a good partner. As a consortium, we have a lot of different partners. But again, mostly people reach out to us asking if they can help us somehow. So I think the main point is to advertise your school, because we have been here, like my colleagues told me, for 100 years, our school existed here. And there are still people who live actually next door, and they come and say, wow, I didn't know there's adult school here. Oh, it's interesting. How long have you been here, guys? I said, forever, for century already. So I think to bring businesses to become your partners, I think you need to start from advertising your school and inviting local leaders to your school. And Tatiana is very good at this, actually, with her advisory board.
Thank you. And then another question about sometimes teachers or instructors would like to keep all their instructional hours to actually, for instruction. And when they see programs like this take away from students' instructional hour, how would you deal with that?
I can say from my experience as a student also, and then I think Tatiana can help also as a teacher. So I'm very lucky to have very supportive teachers here. My teachers, I never met any teacher who was upset with us inviting students to volunteer. Otherwise, teachers said, yes, we want our students to participate in volunteering because they cannot learn everything in the classroom. We need them to practice what we taught them. So please go there and help and volunteer. So I never ever had this problem because, again, I think if you're dedicated ESL teacher, you understand very well your students will not succeed until they practice their skills.
Yeah, I can add, I felt some resistance when I came to advocate for advisory, student advisory on the part of some teachers, not maybe a couple of them, that they were a little bit jealous that I'm stealing their students during the instructional time. I think, first of all, you need to advocate it to the teachers too, not just to the students, and tell them about the benefits that students will get participating in some volunteer projects. And also, good point Marina is making in practicing your English skills and other skills, just communication skills, collaboration skills, all soft skills, if you are engaged in these projects, in volunteering. And I believe also there should be a balance that students should, so we should provide this volunteer opportunities during instructional time and after the classes are over. So we don't take too much of that instructional time. There should be some kind of a balance here. So the students can choose which way to go if they're available after the class. And some of them, you know, have jobs or engaged in family events and responsibilities. They might not do it after the class. So just develop a balance of projects that can be done during the class and after the class time.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
agree. Give them opportunity to choose. And also, I recalled right now, like few teachers told me the attendance of some of their students after they become volunteers increased. So they started coming to class more often, and they made a huge progress in class. And before they were kind of stuck, because I think when you give them opportunity, I mean us students and immigrants, opportunity to volunteer and make some differences, we can understand how, like, why we learn English, how we can use it. It kind of gives us different understanding of our learning process and helps us to calibrate our goal as well.
Thank you, Tatiana and Marina. I think, yeah, you bring a great point of, you know, connecting learning with real life contextualized or problem-based learning or service learning, and you know, in class and outside. I think that's something that faculty and, you know, teachers can relate to. Also, it's good to remind them that, you know, student agency can lead to higher persistence, like Marina was saying. I think those are great points. Any other questions? Let me see. I see a new chat. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, anyone? If no more questions, you can always reach us at calpro.air.org with questions or further comments. But we have this evaluation. If you could please let us know how it went. We will use this information to improve our future presentations and webinars. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful week, and please complete your evaluation before you go. Thank you.
Thank you for participation, everybody.
Thank you for good questions also.
And great comments and questions. Thank you.
Yeah.